Hey, good morning. It's Tim O here. Beautiful Saturday morning out there. It's going to be in the 70s today. It's nice. I was out, tending to the garden and just, enjoying the sun, seeing it creep up over the pond. It was really nice this morning. And today I wanted to talk about an album. This one is by Janis Joplin, and it was recorded. It was live in Amsterdam at some U.S. radio shows, one being Tom Jones. If you can see that, I know there's a glare on it. Maybe I'll shut this light off for a second. I don't think that's doing anything. But anyways, it's an album that I never seen before. I heard some of there's Tom Jones on there right now. I heard some of the performances on this, but some of them I didn't. And I'm still a collector of albums to this day. I've been collecting since I was a young kid. And now when I go into a record store and I'm looking for a record, I'm looking for something rare. I'm looking for something that I ain't, that I haven't heard before. And if I heard it, there's some other stuff on there that maybe I want to check out. And this was one of them. It's on 180 gram colored vinyl. Really, really cool stuff. When I seen it, I was like, I gotta have this, and it's like, comes in a nice sleeve here, which I really love, and I gotta pull this sucker out, but it's on white vinyl, pure white vinyl, and I love it. I love that colored vinyl. And side one is with the Cosmic Blues Band live in Amsterdam, April 11th, 1969, and they do Summertime, Try Just a Little Bit Harder, Ball and Chain, and Piece of My Heart. And on side two, it is also live in Amsterdam, and they do To Love Somebody, Maybe, Little Girl Blue, Raise Your Hand, Get It While You Can, and My Baby. And Little Girl Blue, that's probably my favorite song by Janis. Every time I hear that song, I get emotional. I truly do. Because that is just her. It's just, that girl lived a tough life. She grew up in Port Arthur, Texas, and I'll put this in there afterwards. And, she wasn't treated very good. She was one of those girls that were bullied, She wasn't the best looking girl, but and she was a rebel. She'd tell you where to go, and back then, they wanted you to run by society's way. You got to be the prim and proper girl and all this stuff, and but Janis was just a rebel, and she got tortured for it. And when I hear that song, I think of her life. But, look what she did. She got out of Port Arthur, Texas. Chet Helms came down. She had gone to San Francisco. People seen her. And he came back and got her. And she went out there and she made herself into one of the biggest stars of the 1960s. And unfortunately, she didn't live long because she lived fast and died young. And, that heroin overdose that happened to her, it, she was dabbling in it. She was doing it. She was drinking a lot. And, the thing about Janis is she always showed up. She was always either at the bar. She never, missed the show. No matter how drunk or messed up she got, she'd come out there and give it her all. And when she didn't show up, they were like, where's Janis? Because she was just such a big part of the scene. And she was young, and it turned out Janis was back in the hotel, and she died of a heroin overdose. It hit her like a bomb, and that stuff that was out there at that time was from that guy. I forget his name, but he was a count. He was from England. He was hanging around with Marianne Faithfull, and a few people died from that. They even believe Morrison, from what they predict now really happened. The heroin that he took killed him, and it was from that same guy. But that's, I don't know. A lot of things have come out through the years about all these guys: Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones, Jim Morrison, and Janis. They're legends. Whether you liked them or not, they're legends. And back then, they were such a part of the counterculture. Music was. Music back then was just beginning. It's not like it is now. Music has been around for so long, but rock music was just beginning, and all that stuff that was coming out was so hard hitting and from the gut and from the heart. And Janis, that girl, people that seen her that I know, musicians that seen her back in the day, she was a powerhouse. Just an absolute powerhouse. She would come out there and give 150% every single night. And she just, it'd be like when she played the Fillmore, Jorma Kaukonen from the Jefferson Airplane was like, he seen her there and he was like, she was like a bomb hit the stage. Literally. Just a bomb hit the stage and just friggin', she just tore it up, and everybody was like, wow. And then you just look at that iconic video from the Monterey Pop Festival, and Mama Cass is sitting in the audience, and Janis is up there singing Ball and Chain, and the reaction of Mama Cass is just like, wow, because she was witnessing this girl for the first time, and it was just like, wow, and she was just absolutely fantastic, and she had that, that soprano voice that just was like, she didn't even need a microphone. There was times she'd get up there and just sing during sound checks, and she had that voice that was just so raw, right out in your face. And you either loved her voice or you didn't. I did. I loved the rawness. I loved the power. I loved her Texas drawl you can hear in it. And I just loved her vibe, and she was a product of the 1960s, and she died, when the decade ended, went into the 70s, like along with Morrison and Hendrix and Jones even earlier, that died right at the end of the 60s. These guys were huge. They were just huge, And that album, Pearl, that she did, which probably, in most opinion and mine too, was the greatest album she ever did, and she didn't even live to see it. And there's that song on it, Buried Alive in the Blues, which Nick Gravenides ended up recording, and he played with the Electric Flag along with Mike Bloomfield, and he was a guy come down from Chicago and just, really, really deep into the blues of Chicago. Like a white guy, him, Paul Butterfield, Mike Bloomfield, those guys were walking into bars that were all black and blues back in the day, and seeing guys like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, and they were inviting these young white kids up on stage because they were just so damn good. And, but anyways, he recorded that song. But Janis on the album, if you listen to Pearl, they left it as an instrumental. I don't know if they changed that now, but on the actual album, they left it as an instrumental because she never even got to sing on it, and that's pretty sad, because that album, that album sold so many copies, and she'll always be remembered for A Piece of My Heart with Big Brother and the Holding Company, and Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes Benz. But there's so many other songs that she did that were obscure, that you don't hear, and that's why I wanted this album. Like I said, there's the back with Tom Jones, if you can see it, from the Tom Jones show. And that was actually a really good performance. Tom Jones gets a bum rap. I remember my sister loved him, but he had some good stuff back then. He just wasn't in that. He was in a different in a different. I don't know. He was just kind of different than like the Jimi Hendrixes and the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. but he was good all the same. And yeah, and it's just like, she's known for, those big songs. And those songs will go down in history, and they have. Look at all these years later. When Janis left this world, she left a big hole in the music business. She was just the girl was so dynamic in concert, and like when she left, one, she was a woman, and besides Grace Slick and Cy from the Jefferson Airplane, Signe, I mean, and a few others, Linda Ronstadt, but she was like still obscure with the Left Bank. But Janis was out front, and she was blowing them all away, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it was a male-dominated era of music, but Janis just took it right from them and just came out there and laid it down. And when she left this world, there was, Maggie Bell and later on some punk women and stuff, but she was the queen. She truly was. And, she just, I miss her music. I miss her, her version of Ball and Chain and Down on Me. And like I said, Little Girl Blue, Cosmic Blues, which is another great song. And then, even Me and Bobby McGee, that's a Chris Christopherson song. And I love Chris's version. But that was Janis's song. He wrote that for her. And he was devastated because he loved her. And a lot of people loved her. But when the spotlights all dimmed and she left the stage, she was a very lonely soul. A very lonely soul. And putting those things that we thought were so great at one time, myself included, the booze and the drugs, when you're laying that stuff already on a person that's soul is hurt, it does a number to you. And she became one of the 27 Club, and it's hard, and not long ago I watched this movie called The Festival Express, where a bunch of them, Buddy Guy, The Dead, Janis Joplin, a whole bunch of people were on this train, and it just went across the country. And it was friggin' absolute madness. It was in a time when that stuff was just prevalent and praised, and they went out there on the road, and it's a wonder any of them come back. But it was really, it brought you back to that era, an era that is gone and that will never come back. And the music that came out of that era was fantastic. And I wanted to shine the spotlight today on Janis because it's well-deserved. She was a fantastic flame that burnt so bright and then burnt out like that. And but at least she left us some music, and she left a legacy, and she's still remembered, and movies have been written about her, stage plays. And I even seen Big Brother and the Holding Company with, the drummer and the bass player was still there. This was a few years back, me and Carol, and I was a woman singer playing for her, but they were fantastic. They put on a great show at the Regent Theater, and I was just glad that I got to see. I didn't get to see Janis, but I got to see Dave and I forget the other guy's name, but yeah, the drummer and the bassist. And I got to talk with him. I was selling merchandise for him. Leland, who runs the place, asked me if we could do it. So we were selling off old posters and memorabilia, and I got a picture taken with them, and they were just good guys, just regular dudes. So anyways, I wish you all a great day. I hope you enjoy this weather because we've been waiting for it. And take care of yourselves and keep listening to the music, because the music is such a soul cleansing thing, and it always has been for me. Take care, folks.